Hello, good evening, Aston Villa fans. Welcome to the Villa Forever podcast. I am your host, Chad Williams. First of all, before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. Subscribing is completely free, and it really helps the channel grow. And you can follow me on all audio platforms, including Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. This evening, I'm joined by show regular Ben Clarke. It's good to have you on the show again.
Cheers, Chad. Good to be back.
He's a Labour Party councillor for Nordicote in Tamworth. And also, we have special guest Charlie Harris. He was a Chelsea fan and one of the hosts on the We Talk Chelsea podcast.
Hi.
It'd be great to get his perspective. So looking forward to that as well.
Thank you.
I'll be doing the pre-match talk show. Chelsea versus Aston Villa. FA Cup 4th round. Looking forward to this game. Can Aston Villa do the treble over Chelsea at Stamford Bridge? And they return to football action after the winter break, so they'll be fully recharged. I'm looking forward to this fixture. So how are you guys?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to a great game tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a really fiery contest under the lights. Obviously, we're coming off the back of a semi-final victory to get us to the other domestic cup final, which is very positive. But of course, you guys are on a 2-week break, so I expect you guys fully fighting fit.
So Chelsea in the Carabao Cup final.
Yeah. So we're there. Obviously beating Middlesbrough on Tuesday, 6-1 in the return leg in the final. So that's our this of the FA Cups looks to be our only hope for Europe this season, based upon our league position and previous results that we've had this season. So it looks as though that the League Cup final and certainly the match tomorrow will be crucial to our season. So we'll be all guns firing, so to speak.
It's a great achievement getting to the Carabao Cup final.
Yeah, and who would have thought it? There is an element of luck of the draw, but we did have to beat Newcastle. We did have to beat Brighton. But okay. On the whole, we've had a pretty easy path to the final. Obviously, Liverpool in the final. It isn't going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a one-off game. And one thing that we can take from this season is, despite our consistently mid-table performance, we are inconsistent, and sometimes that can work in our favour. We can turn up to one-off games, so you never know with these things. We may well turn up against Liverpool, and we may well turn up tomorrow against you guys. So that's all we can hope.
And we got a good record at Stamford Bridge, Ben.
Yeah, I think it was 1-0 in the last game, wasn't it? 2-0 9 months before that. So yeah, I think it'll be a really tough game. Really close, but we'll see how it goes.
So we're going to talk about the Everton game first, before we talk about FA Cup action. So Ben, what is your thought from a 0-0 draw against Everton?
I thought it was a really tough game. I thought both teams played really well. It was definitely a case of us not being able to break down what was a really solid Everton defence. There was some luck involved as well on both sides. But overall, impressed with the performance. And what a strike it was from Moreno. Just a shame it was offside. Martinez also played a blinder, and he shows us sort of game in, game out why he won that award, and he's still one of the best keepers in the game.
I think with that game, he was very comfortable when he was passing the ball. Even under pressure, he handled it really well.
Yeah, can't fault the performance. It's just the finishing. But you have those games sometimes where you do everything but put the ball in the back of the net. But it was a good performance.
So you have to give great credit to Everton.
Yeah.
For sure, Dawes, his game plan definitely worked. Very hard to break down.
Yeah, I think he wanted to draw Villa into a scrappy game, and that's what he got. And they defended really well. I mean, some of the blocks and the saves as well from Pickford, it was class. Like, fair play to them.
Yeah, I think what it is, I think it was just the decision making in the final third that let us down, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Bailey came really close. As I say, Moreno had a cracking strike, and it was just, I think it was a foot offside.
It was unfortunate.
Yeah. But again, can't fault performance. Nothing to worry about. Just one of those games.
I think I'm happy with the points away from home. But the thing that worries me is the teams below us. It's getting very tight in that top 4, top 6.
Yeah, the away forms, Emery's turned Villa Park into a fortress. It's the away form, and if you want to maintain top 6, top 4, you need to have good home and away form. So, but it'll come.
That's a good one. Is it Spurs? Are they 3 points behind us or something?
I know it's getting close. I know it's getting close up there.
But I think there's a long way to go yet.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think we'll be okay.
If you look where we were a year ago, 2 years ago, it's not in day, and I'm not moaning. I'm really happy with the football. And yeah, on another day we could have beat Everton. Sorry.
And get Champions League football. That's the target.
Absolutely, that's the target. And on another day we could have beaten Everton 2-3-0, or it could have gone the other way and they could have beaten us 1-0. It's just, yeah, again, sounds cliche, but yeah.
So, who was your player of the match against Everton?
I'd have to go with Martinez for those 2 absolute world-class saves he pulled off. The one-on-one with Calvert-Lewin, and then the follow-up. I can't remember who delivered the shot, but yeah, it was absolutely class. He kept us in that, and he won us the point.
Absolutely agree, because Eddie Martinez, he saved us so many times in his time at Villa.
Yeah, absolutely, and he shows us why he's one of the best keepers in the world and why he won the awards. Now.
And you know what impressed me the most in that Everton game? The way how he commanded his area very well.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you can tell that the defenders in front of him have got complete trust in him, and he's got complete trust in them. That's why we can afford to play that high line. I know we get caught out sometimes, but there is a sort of a synergy between the back 4 and the goalkeeper, and that's why we're defending so well at the minute.
As well, Ben, he climbed crosses very well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a massive part of a goalkeeper's game, being able to command your area, not being scared to go for those crosses. I remember a few years ago when we had Oya in Ireland, and any time a cross went in, your heart was in your mouth. Didn't know what was going to happen. So it's nice to have a bit of stability in between the sticks.
Well, it'd be interesting actually if we get a backup goalkeeper.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, Olsen's he's knocking on 35 now. And he doesn't inspire confidence. He's had a few good games and a few shaky games, but yeah, perhaps a backup goalkeeper. We've got some young kids as well coming through. So, but towards the end of the season, it's not the time to be trying out new players. I just hope Emmy stays fit, and I'm sure he will.
Can we all link to that Iceland international? But he's only young, a 22-year-old goalkeeper, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but yeah. A backup keeper would be.
Scroll to next picture. So now I'm going to talk about FA Cup action. So Charlie, What do you expect for the FA Cup game tomorrow?
A very tough game, to say the least. We've, going down to Stamford Bridge, like you say, the last two times we played you at the Bridge, you've beaten us. I don't think, as much as you've turned Villa Park into a fortress, I think Stamford Bridge has gone from a fortress into a fairly easy ride these days. There are a lot of holes in the team in terms of the way that we play football, quite a lot of weaknesses to exploit. But at the same time, on a one-off game, you never know. There is quality within our squad. The synergy is nowhere near there at the moment. To be honest, the teamwork isn't there at the moment. They don't quite look like a team, if that makes sense. They look like individuals, very similar to Man United. But you just never know. We've coming off the back of this 6-1 now. We've had this over the last 2 years a few times where we've come off the back of good results or good performances, expecting this to snowball into something else. And every single time this has happened, the most common theme is that it's actually done the opposite and we've gone 2 steps back. So all I can say is don't bet on it, whatever you do, because that's the beauty of following Chelsea at the moment. Anything can happen. We're off the pitch and on the pitch. I wouldn't be surprised to wake up tomorrow to see that we've signed Benzema on the same day that we sold Gallagher. It's that sort of thing at the moment at Chelsea. It's just a big roller coaster. So I'm expecting a lively affair. It's under the lights, which is always brings something out of it. I've got many memories.
Friday night under the lights.
What was that? Sorry.
Friday night
under the lights. That's it. So and I've got so many memories over the years of a lot of high energy games under the lights. There's something about it. We all know that, and you never know. I think we're in for a good match tomorrow. I can't see it being a 0-0, anything like that. I think both teams want to put the game to bed tomorrow. So that's the key.
Well, a lot of fans might be happy if we get a replay, maybe.
Yeah, Ben. I mean, maybe, but I don't think you guys would want the congestion of fixtures. I think it's you've got enough on your plate at the moment. And nothing over the line, so to speak.
It's going to be in Villa Park.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but at the same time, just having that congestion of fixtures and where you are in the season, I think that if I was in your position, you'd almost want to get one of those. You want to get top 4 done and dusted. That's the key. You've got to get that, and then see what happens in the Europa Conference and see where you land there. Whether you want more fixtures, I don't know. I think you want the business finished tomorrow.
Did you think I was actually going for the FA Cup?
It's been a long time since I've had a decent cup run. I was just saying before, I think it was Tim showed when we had a good cup run, and Liverpool in the semi-final, Arsenal in the final. I was there. I think it was 10 years ago this year. So it's been a long time.
We're going against Chelsea tomorrow. The atmosphere is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Stamford Bridge is never really been allowed ground in recent years. To be honest, it has dwindled that over the years. I think it comes with success. The crowd play less of a part in the matches, if you like, and that just becomes habitual. But I think with I think it's 5,000 Villa fans coming tomorrow.
I mean, that's fantastic support.
It is on a Friday night as well. Getting backs. Absolutely. So there should be a really, really good atmosphere. And I find that the more away fans there are in the ground, the more it spurs on the home fans, and it becomes a better atmosphere. If you've got just a couple. I mean, I was at Middlesbrough the other week, and there was 2,000 of us there on a wet Tuesday night to see us lose up there. Wasn't the greatest, but it was all Middlesbrough fans. That's all you could hear. But it's nice when there's a two-sided affair and there's enough enough fans from both sides.
Because I think with the Villa team, I think we've got a strong enough team to get a result at Stamford Bridge. But I think our attack could cause Chelsea some problems.
Yeah, I agree without a doubt, and it's I think Ollie Watkins has caused us a lot of problems the last two times you've come down, or certainly if I remember the Cucurella one where he scored. In fact, I think he scored both times in the last. If memory serves me right, both of those times that we're talking about. So he's always caused us problems. Obviously, I'm guessing he'll be starting tomorrow. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's fair to say, yeah.
Yeah, so and the other thing that I think you'll probably beat us quite easily on is the midfield. Our midfield this season's been extremely underperforming, and is in my opinion, one of the reasons that's holding us back. We've got two huge high fee players in there in Enzo and Caicedo, who are a combined almost 250 million pounds worth of talent, that essentially, as a result of their price tag, have to play every match. And if you look at Villa's,
spent a lot of money.
Absolutely, spent a lot of money and not necessarily got value for money just yet. Obviously, they're all young players, so we don't know at the moment if they're value for money. But certainly, as it stands, we're chasing that £1 billion back for value, which is a risky business. So I think that's where it'll be won. I think your midfield this season has really risen to the occasion, and I think that's your strength. To be honest, if I had to say what Villa's strength is, it's the midfield, because that's a solid midfield that you've got there, and that's something that you'll easily win that battle in the middle. So we'll be relying on balls over the top. We'll be relying on intricate play with the forward players, and obviously staying solid at the back. So that's what we'll be probably relying on.
With the Chelsea team tomorrow, I'm expecting a few changes. Look, Ben Chilwell, do you not be rescued?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he started on Tuesday. Nobody was expecting that, including myself. And he lasted, I think it was, between 60 and 70 minutes. Bearing in mind we were 4-0 up at half time, we could have easily taken him off at that point. So, yes, I agree. But the thing is, the effect that he had on the game was huge. He got himself in some very interesting positions, virtually playing at points as a centre forward and a right back. He was everywhere basically, so he had a very free role. Now, if it was me, I would be saying he's got to start. That he made such a difference to the balance of the team that I think he could really cause Villa problems tomorrow. But whether let's see what happens. I suppose it's a toss up whether they want to risk the fitness, and that's the thing.
Because with Chelsea, you haven't got many experienced players. Other than Thiago Silva, really.
No, and again, that's another problem that we've had. Again, this is there's so many issues that are all combined. We sold in the summer quite well. You could argue we sold players for probably more money than what they were worth. However, the caveat with that, if you like, is that we ended up with a team of very little experience. We sold a lot of experience, which is very hard to value. And we didn't bring in much experience. In fact, we brought in barely any. We're relying on a player in Thiago Silva at the age of 37. Or 30, might even be 38. You kind of almost lose count. This guy seems to have no interest in retiring. But there will come a point where he has to, and he's playing every match. He'll no doubt start tomorrow. I'd be very surprised if Chelsea rest any players tomorrow, particularly. There may be, in terms of the difference between the Middlesbrough game, where we did play a full-strength team, the only tweaks that I can see will be things that are directly affected by the opposition, if that makes sense. So it'll be based upon the fact that we think that we can penetrate your right-hand side or your left-hand side. We might pit between a Madueke and a Mudryk, or a Gallagher and a Caicedo, or whatever. It'll be things like that.
Conor Gallagher will start probably.
We hope. I would like to think so, but the problem that we have at the moment is we're reliant on Broja up front, who's basically our only fit striker. So we have Nkunku, who's injured, and we have Jackson, who's at the African Nations. So Broja will no doubt start, and then we need to have at least 2, maybe 3 players playing off him. So that will be Palmer, who will definitely start, Sterling, who will almost definitely start, and then it will be probably a Mudryk or a Madueke, one of those 2. And then the problem that we have is obviously we play a 4 at the back, so we only have 2 in the middle. So, and this is the problem, because of the price tags that are attached to Enzo and Caicedo, it wouldn't surprise me if Gallagher's drops out, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if Enzo does. Enzo has been dropped out before. It's not unheard of, if that makes sense. So,
How about that Middlesbrough performance? The best performance I've seen Chelsea play for this season.
Yeah, it was certainly
Best performances.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was the most consistent performance that we've had all season. We were clinical. There's no doubt about that. We struggled with goals and we scored 6, which was good. We took our chance as well. I will say one thing. Like I said, I went to the away leg at the Riverside. Middlesbrough were terrible on Tuesday compared to how they played that day. That the occasion got to them, and they at least 3 of their goals, if you haven't seen it already, were by error, basically by personal error. So it is the opposition essentially that we were playing against that also had a factor in that.
What's your predict then? What do you say?
I was just saying that the opposition that we were playing, so Middlesbrough, just didn't turn up on the day, and that did have a factor in how good we were. We were good, but Middlesbrough were also really terrible on the day and had a lot of sort of personal mistakes, shall we say, that led to a lot of their goals.
Does it go a bit with Chelsea as well? I like their youth academy. They've got some good players.
Yeah, and this is again another problem that we have as a football club is that we have the owners seem to have a commercial policy of selling our best youth products at an early age for profit, and then using that to balance the books with FFP, or being forced to sell our players, should I say, because of their poor judgment when it comes to buying players. So I'll give you an example. Conor Gallagher is probably been our most consistent player this season, and yet there are strong rumours that he may leave either this window, probably a bit late now, but this window or in the summer, purely to balance the books, no other reason. So, but you shouldn't in my opinion, you shouldn't run a football club like that. That just shows how bad the owners are in terms of the buying strategy, that they've had to balance the books by selling our best talent and homegrown talent, especially because I think, from my understanding, homegrown talent, because you didn't pay for them, it's a more beneficial for the FFP. It's a quicker win basically for FFP. So yeah.
Well, Ben, what players should Villa be worried about against Chelsea?
Cole Palmer. I think he's had a really good season. Gonna have to be tight on marking him. He looks absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Charlie? Who should we be looking out for?
I think if Chilwell starts, Chilwell has certainly, there's something about him that you'll see going forward. If he's got the license to go forward, that a lot will go through him. Cole Palmer's the obvious one. It's a funny one. It really does depend who turns up on the day, and that's again down to the consistency. Sterling on his day, we all know, we've watched him play for years. He has, if he turns up on his day, he can rip defences apart. He's got the ability to do that, but he's a very, very much an inconsistent player who relies heavily on confidence and things like that, and things going his way, and defensively. So I suppose it depends how much faith you've got in your own. Is it Moreno that you play as a left back? Is that right?
Yeah, and Luke continues. Is injured?
Okay. Okay, so I mean, it just depends how much faith you've got in your left back and your right back, I suppose, because that's where they'll look to penetrate. They'll look to penetrate wide, and then go in from there. We won't win a lot in the midfield, frankly. That's evident. If we try and play through the middle, that'll be the worst thing that can happen.
Because at the midfield to Villa is key in this game. With John McGinn as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Guinea, Dougie as well. You know, Dougie's been phenomenal for us this season. So I really hope Chelsea try to play through the middle.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's funny because McGinn is always again in the last few years he's always turned up against Chelsea. He scored that brilliant goal at Stamford Bridge a couple of years ago. You know, he's always turned up, and this season he's been phenomenal, as is Lewis. So it's I think, you know, that's where it will be won. I can't see, even if our whole midfield turns up, I just can't see them having any competition with your midfield. So I think Chelsea will be looking to play down the channels more. That's what they'll look to do, and penetrate that way.
It'd be interesting to see how the two starters if Villa try and play through the middle, Chelsea going out wide. Be interesting to see how that
could be a very open match if that happens, you know, potentially.
Cole Palmer, he's got a good penalty record. Scored a few penalties.
Certainly has. I mean, one that springs to mind was against his old club, Man City, to get 4-4 at home in the 93rd minute, I think. So the pressure penalty. Amazing. Yeah, and I think he's, by all accounts, obviously I don't know him personally, but by all accounts, he's a modest guy, modest young man. Seems to have the right attitude and so on. Very surprising Man City let him go, if I'm being honest. It was the steal of the summer, I think. And the only reason that we got him is because we backed out of a couple of other transfers on the way. So it just shows how silly, you know, how silly the Chelsea transfer strategy is that the only thing that they got right was something that they didn't even plan. But there we go. We've got him. He's here, and you know, long live Cole Palmer, so to speak. But he's really coming on.
Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel was a great coach.
Yeah, and again, that's another reason why, as Chelsea fans, we do look very negatively upon these owners. I don't think they've brought in a lot of positivity into the club. Tuchel will go down in folklore at Chelsea for winning the Champions League. And for sticking by Chelsea with all the problems with Abramovich and the transfer embargoes and everything else. So I think with Thomas, with doing that, they instantly were on the back foot, if you like, with the fans. I mean, it's a funny. I mean, I was saying to Ben before the show, I could easily write a book about this ownership, but I won't. I know this is the Aston Villa, you know, podcast, so I'm not going to go into too much detail.
Just go and drink of water.
Try.
So what have both of you made of Chelsea this season? Let's start with you.
I think it's been looking from the outside in. It's been a really tough season. I think you've got to look at that injury list as well, and that can't be discredited. I think it's the longest injury list in the league, is it, at this point? I think you give Poch enough time, I think he'll come good. Definitely in need of a number 9, as you said, bit thin with just Broja. But it's a really tough position to recruit for at the moment, especially in January. Teams know you're desperate. You're going to pay inflated costs. And with FFP on your back, you might have to get a bit creative with number 9 recruitment.
Yeah, it's
with
been.
Pochettino, there's not a huge expectation.
Yeah, and I think I think there's obviously a total disconnect between the fans' expectations and the owners' expectations and the manager's expectations and the players' expectations. There's so many different factions within the club at the moment that just don't align, and that's the issue. You know, as fans, we've been blessed. I've been personally blessed to have been able to watch live us win Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, numerous FA Cups, League Cups in my 20s, you know, almost like at the perfect time of my life as well, you know, to be able to do it, you know, at that age before I had children, things like that. You know, and so there is this element of expectation that you have where, you know, being 10th in the table and, you know, getting a League Cup maybe and possibly scraping an 8th position if we're lucky just isn't good enough. But yet that the owners probably see it as more like, as long as we stay in the Premier League and as long as we've got a good manager, that's enough. There are some fans who think if it's not Poch, who is it? There are some fans who go, look, he's just this guy. Yeah, okay, he's had a massive injury list, but in-game management isn't good. So there's just so many things going on and so many opinions. And I think in terms of like getting a striker, everybody knows we need a number 9. I don't personally think it's even worth buying one at the moment. I just don't. I think you're far more likely, like Ben says, in the summer to recruit someone and get someone for a better value and have more people available. There's no need to get a sort of half striker like we did with Jackson and expect it to work. I'd rather wait because ultimately, like we've been through, it's the Carabao Cup final and tomorrow. That's it. That's all we've got for the rest of the season. The leagues, I can't believe we're going to go on a run in the league and get anything into Europe that way. So those are the 2 matches. Are we really going to shell out £100 million just for those matches? It doesn't really matter. It's just not worth it. I'd rather just hold out and wait. And if anything, maybe loan in a striker. That might be the option. You know, loan in an experienced striker and I hate Olivier Giroud, you know, I really miss that guy. Someone like that just to come in.
Oh
and
yeah,
just do
what's
a
the
job.
player?
Yeah, just someone like that to come in and do a job. A reliable guy just to come in, do a job, you know, score a few goals, hold up play, and just let everybody else do their jobs. That's all we need, really.
And that was Man United's strategy for years, wasn't it? With Zlatan, Cavani, Odion,
and Oz, you know, Higuain, Falcao. We've had Etu. We've had quite a few of them.
To do with Chelsea, the big thing that worries me, like you were saying, you don't really have an out-and-out goal scorer. You know, a lot of Chelsea team, they got a few that can chip in all around the squad, really, with goals.
Yeah, and I was actually saying this to one of my friends the other day. I think the way that Pochettino plays at the moment with his team, I've got a feeling that he's basing it more on a Klopp-esque model. So it won't be a Man City where they'll rely on a Haaland to bang the final goal. He'll want 3 or 4 players that can evenly split those goals, like Liverpool have. Salah, Jota, Nuno. They've got goals from everywhere, essentially. And I think just the way that they played on Tuesday, when everything does kind of come together, it's more. I don't know if you notice it with Liverpool, and I've noticed it with Villa actually as well to an extent. But when you're at home and you need a goal, it's just the madness of the running everywhere that ends up getting the space. It doesn't need necessarily a great finisher. It's just the case of when it all comes together, people know their roles, they know where to cover, they know that and it's the pace of movement off the ball, the pace of passing and running, that sort of thing. And I think that's, as having a young team, that should be our strength, really. It should be the fact that we've got the energy, quick off the mark, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it may be that they wait until the end of the season and see if the players buy into that, because we have enough players who are sort of those fringe strikers like Sterling, Palmer, Mudryk, Madueke. We have quite a lot of those players. We're quite top heavy in that department. Possibly we won't.
Enzo
Yeah.
Fernandez. Yeah.
He should be in that category. He's probably played slightly too deep at the moment. He should be in that category, but he's not quite settled into the Premier League as we would have liked. And I think we bought him as a playmaker, really, as someone who everything goes through, or as a box to box, if you like. I suppose the terminology would be. He's never really fulfilled any of those roles. He's kind of a bit of a at the moment a bit lost, I would say, as a midfielder. So I think his time will come, but at the moment unfulfilled, to say the least. He's been at the club a year now, and with a huge price tag, and we haven't seen enough of him, to be honest.
Do you go to the Chelsea games, Charlie?
Yes, yeah, I do. Yeah, so I go nowadays. I'm obviously married with a baby, so less than I used to.
Yeah.
But I still go to usually about 8 or 10 away games a year. I don't go to the home games anymore. I just don't enjoy them. I get limited time off my family, if you like, and I just pick the away games. Those are the ones that I enjoy going to. So yeah, I tend to go to the away games. But years ago, I've been all around Europe following Chelsea, and used to have a home and away season ticket and so on when I was a lot younger. So I've done my time, if you like.
Well, I've been to the bridge before. Oh, actually, like it. It's a good away there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say that it's a nice part of London. It's one of the few, along with Villa Park, a traditional football ground and a pitch that's never been moved. These days Arsenal's moved, Tottenham's moved, but there's a few of them left. Old Trafford, Goodison Park, obviously that's going. Anfield, and there's traditional St James's Park. These are ones that are it tends to be the sort of bigger clubs who have such fan bases that have such resonation with those pitches and stadia that they demand to stay there, and I think it's a good thing. I think it would be really boring for every football ground to be just off the motorway somewhere and with a big car park and a big bowl, and they all look the same. I like the fact that clubs have grounds that are different. I think it makes the Premier League interesting and makes it interesting going to matches.
Agreed.
I'll ask both of you this question. What do you think of Mauricio Pochettino? I'll start with you, Ben.
I've never been a huge admirer of Poch. I think to be fair, I think he did build a fantastic team at Spurs, but that team ultimately underperformed. It didn't win any silverware. I think it remains to be seen whether he'll be given the time at Chelsea to try and emulate the sort of squad he built and the quality of that squad. But again, whether he can deliver with the quality of players, who knows?
I like his experience. Working with top quality players, I think.
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah,
ultimately
right now,
underperformed with the winning aspect of it, winning the silverware, because that's how you're judged at the end of your tenure.
For Chelsea, yeah. But yeah, also I think by Spurs, they really did well there. But he's still got time to prove himself, I think.
Yeah.
After you, Charlie.
Yeah, and I think he was very lucky at Spurs. I think the team, there's an element of luck and skill, but he managed to, forge a fantastic team there. The team that got to the Champions League final, Kane, Son, Dele Alli, good Dele Alli, on the pitch. Lots of great players, Kyle Walker, and loads of really good players that he managed to get together. I think the jury's out with him at Chelsea. I think a lot of it will come down to him as a person. It doesn't look like he's enjoying the job. That's all I'll say. He just doesn't look like. I don't think anyone.
He don't look like that.
No, and I know it's because we're not doing well, and you can argue that. And obviously, every time you see Emery on TV, he's always got a smile on his face and everything's fine. But obviously, you're on the up, so I suppose you can't read too much into that. And again, Klopp, for the last couple of years has looked pretty miserable and on the brink of leaving Liverpool. And now he's making jokes, and so I suppose there is an element of that. But I do think that there's Potter's success on the pitch will be down to the way that he's treated off the pitch. And I think things like selling Conor Gallagher, if that happens, which undermine his position, will rub him up the wrong way and undermine his position with the other players. So I think there's a lot of external influence that will affect him. But from what we've seen on the things that cannot be affected, I haven't really been too impressed with him. I don't think, let's put it this way, I don't think we're a lot better than we were 12 months ago. I haven't seen much improvement with a team that's had more money spent on it. So you have to look at it that way.
That's good. The only thing I do look about Pochettino is his formation, I think. It's not organised. I think the way he set it up, I think.
Yeah, so it is, but it's one of these ones where it works sometimes and it doesn't other times. And one of the classic things that if Aston Villa do tomorrow is the low block. So basically, if you just set up with a low block, we find it very difficult to break teams down. We rely on teams coming at us first and catching them on the break. We're quite quick on the break. Obviously, not the greatest in the final third in decision making, but we do get into some good positions. We can work our way to that final third. But I think that's going to be that's really the biggest negative is that even though we're 10th in the league, Stamford Bridge is still seen as a tough place to go, just by most teams, and they do play that system, and that's probably why we end up playing quite well against teams above us rather than teams below us.
Because Chelsea have been through a few managers over the years. They don't really give their managers time. That's like in football, though, really. You don't have time.
No. And I will say one thing with that is that I don't think we do have time. I think the combination of being out of Europe for 2 years, which definitely wasn't in the business plan of these new owners, spending more money than what they thought.
Chelsea.
Yeah, well, I think unacceptable for the owners as well. I think it wasn't part of their business plan, and I don't think spending £1 billion was either. I think they've tried to spend their way out of that problem, and it hasn't worked. So they've caused themselves an even bigger problem. And now they've got an FFP problem. So they now might need to sell some of their better players to make up for it. So it is an absolute mess when you think about it. They're relying on league position and getting into Europe just to sort of balance the books. But unfortunately, football's a funny old game. You can't rely on those things,
I'm going to talk a little bit about the transfer window quickly. So I'll start with you this question again. What have you made of both teams' transfer activity so far?
Well, I'm pleased with the signing of Nedeljkovic. I think he's a big lad, right back, which is a position where we've got a gap. 18 years of age, Champions League experience, good investment for the future. He's been loaned back out, so we might see him play next year, come off the bench, maybe start a few. I'd also be really happy if we landed Morgan Rogers. I think he had a really good finish against Chelsea the other day. Again, another young addition for the future. So I think it's been a good window now. Yeah, it's been a good window with just Nedeljkovic signing, but it'd be a really good window if we land Rodgers as well.
What I like about Unai Emery and Monchi, they're looking ahead, planning for the future, not the here and now.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I really like about Emery, and it seems silly talking about it, but he will not buy players for the sake of buying players. He will only buy players to improve the squad. Which sounds silly when you say it, but I know that there's been a lot of signings in the past at the Villa where what is the point in that? So yeah, a lot of time for Emery for his approach, and Monchi's been transformational.
Because for the Djokovic, I mean, he could end up a fantastic player. We could get a big profit if we sign him in the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, looking at him, he's 18 years of age. He's already 6 foot. You know, he's built like an absolute brick. Cracking signing. Looking forward to seeing him pull on the jersey and play a few games for Villa.
Yeah, God, and also he played against Manchester City in the Champions League.
Yeah, he actually went up against Jack Grealish. Yeah, Grealish was on the left, and Nedeljkovic was right back. He did quite well against him, to be fair.
So, Charlie, well, Chelsea linked very much.
We're linked with everyone and anyone and everyone, and we probably tell the world as well that we are linked with them. This is one of the biggest frustrations of the ownership is they air their laundry in public constantly and allow every journalist to get a bite. Essentially, we've been linked with a lot of players, but we haven't actually signed anyone apart from some sort of youth players, kind of similar to you. But what I would say with Chelsea is where you're planning for maybe next season or the season after, we seem to our plan is in a different universe. We're planning for something in 5 years on the assumption of things that haven't happened yet, and it's quite dangerous in that sense. And it's a very strange business model that we have, whereby we're going to Brazil and buying players. This is an example that we've done in this window, buying players who are 16, 17, who are apparently quite good prospects, with the intention basically of flogging them. That is literally the why we buy them. There's no other point. We send them out on loan for a couple of years. We hope it's almost like a bet. You send them out on loan, hope that they gain in value, and then sell them. But yeah, in terms of this transfer window, it doesn't look like there's going to be anything, to be honest, unless they're keeping their cards close to their sleeve, which they don't tend to do. So I don't think there will be anything. I think they'll just stick with what they've got. Let Pochettino. There's no chance of him getting sacked, to be honest, until the summer at least, and I don't think he even will then. I think he can almost, as long as they stay up in the league, I think his job's fairly safe. So I think it'll just be a terribly boring end to the season for us, especially in the league, unless something good happens tomorrow.
We have to be careful with all the teams as well. Before natural fair play, you look at Nottingham Forest and Everton. They paid the price.
Yeah, you got to be careful now. I think it didn't help that Everton admitted to it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it is dangerous. It's a bit of a strange one because there are some clubs. I've been a believer that there's certain clubs that are fundamental to the value of the Premier League, and Everton's one of them, in my opinion. Villa are one of them as well. Newcastle are one of them. Chelsea are one of them, and then you've got your obvious cities, Man United's, Liverpool's, these Tottenham, these sort of teams. There's probably about 10 of them that really sell the Premier League, and Everton are one of them. So they have to be almost a little bit careful, because you don't want to restrict this transfers too much, because otherwise we open up as a league to these sort of players playing overseas, and we've had it quite good the last 10 years. To be fair, we've consistently been probably the best league in the world, and had the best teams in the world, and been consistently good in the Champions League, which is the ultimate test of how good that league is on the world stage. So yeah, you've got to be careful. You've got to, I mean, obviously Chelsea have got to be extremely careful.
You've got to be sustainable.
Yeah, but how can you be? That's the thing, because football is such an unpredictable sport. We wouldn't watch football if it was predictable.
Exactly.
So by its nature, you can't run a business if it's unpredictable. But yet you're combining business and sport. So it's very difficult to keep a lid on, I think. And and how to judge it, because Manchester City could have what's coming to them. If you look at that, they could be easily relegated on those grounds.
They get away with it?
I think they've got very good lawyers. I think they're delaying it very well, but I think that it will come. The day of reckoning will come eventually, and I think it will be the day that Guardiola leaves them as well. I think it could cripple them, because I don't think Guardiola will be managing in League One or whatever, or League Two. I just can't see that. I think he'll just pack his bags and go somewhere else or retire.
Well, Ben, I'm going to ask you a last question. How far do you think we can go in this FA Cup competition?
You'd like to think all the way. I said before, it's been a long time since we've had a good cup run. I remember being at that final, Benteke and Delph scoring against Liverpool. Yeah, it's all on tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really tough game against Chelsea. You're fighting for some of the only sort of silverware you can win this season. So it'll be a tough one. But I'll be the optimist and say, we could get to the final.
Well, in the FA Cup as well, if you could get a good cup run, you could build some good momentum going into the Premier League.
Yeah, it can definitely act as a bit of a trampoline into your next game.
And another day out at Wembley as well.
Oh, that'd be cracking. Absolutely cracking.
But what do you think, Henry? Do you think we'll prioritise Champions League obviously first? Or do you think FA Cup or Conference League?
Yeah, it goes without saying, got to go for Champions League first. That's a tough one. I'd like us to win the FA Cup. It's historic, and we haven't won it since I think it's 1957. So
a long time.
Yeah, it's a very long time. But I have complete faith in Unai Emery that he will make the right calls.
Well, also, Charlie, we're following the We Talk Chelsea podcast regularly. So please go and subscribe to We Talk Chelsea. And can you spread the word about my podcast as well, Charlie?
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll be doing a show. We tend to do them every Monday, but we sometimes do them after the game. I will after the game tomorrow. It may well be one that we will do. So I will make sure that we do a shout out, and it's good to help each other.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a like, share and subscribe to the channel. Remember to make sure to keep your post notifications on so you don't miss out on any good content. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much, Ben and Charlie, for your time. We're going to wrap up this episode with Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
All good?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to just end this stream. I'm just having a few problems in the studio. Let's just get out of this.